Hello, everyone. And Mark is having technical difficulties. And welcome to World Politics. Hi, Mark. Mark just dove out, where we are discussing all of the different political things and current events that are going on today, including the up and coming elections in the United States. But more important, what is happening in the world and how it's impacting everyone? Because, you know, it's not just about what happens to us in the US. It's about everyone in this day and time because I think everything that we do today impacts everyone in the world. We have so much going on from the missiles being hit in Israel to, we still have the Ukraine and Russia issues. And, I would like to ask myself what's going on there. We also have a lot of propaganda that people are using as their political ticket to influence people by using fake news, such as Biden had gave the Pakistanians millions, if not billions, of dollars to build their war with, and that is not true. In fact, they still hadn't received any money from us before this happened. But, word on the street is China gave them the money. So, but let's bring Sasha Starr in from Canada. Welcome, Sasha. How are you doing?
Thank you, Kim. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. We got a lot of stuff going on in the world today, not just, the political campaigns in the United States, which everyone tries to use a lot of fake news to, influence their political ticket, which I think is really pathetically sad. But we've got a lot of good things that can be going on and happening and finding some solutions. What are some things going on in Canada right now?
In Canada, it's not much. I would say that yesterday there were a huge demonstrations. One is for Israeli cause, another one was anti-Israeli cause. They were at different places at different time, so there were no clashes between the meeting. Between people, but there were a lot of police around. Mm, so what can I say? It's quite polarizing views on what's happened, and very few people are ignorant about that. Now about fake news, there are a lot of fake news, and always were. So it's very difficult sometimes. So some people say that 1,000 Israelis were killed, and some others who will say no, only 100, and some others will say 10,000 were killed, maybe 100,000. So you have to trust your sources and examine just one more time what you're listening, whom you're listening, and it's very very important. This troublesome times to
Yeah, and
really
sometimes, I've heard, people from Pakistan say, hey, you don't know the whole truth. The Israelis, they've been coming over and, torturing and killing our people for years. And so this has been a war that's been going on back and forth for years. And I can't really stand on one side or the other. And I'm sure that irritates a lot of people who are standing on the side of Israel because again, I don't believe in just butting heads and starting wars over your issues. I don't understand why these people just can't sit down like grown adults and talk them out, but they apparently, just like Putin, they can't. They got to push that big fat red button like Trump does. But I feel that there's other sides to the story, right? Other people have been tortured and killed on both sides. I personally can't take a side. What I like to say is I pray to God that all of this just kind of one day people put their guns down and go, let's settle this. Like,
Kim, you remind me very well a famous saying by Trump after one of these events where he says, there are good people on both sides, on this side and on that side. So that's another approach could be taken. Okay, so there are people killed there and some people killed there. So we don't know really what's happened. Okay, that's an approach too. I mean, some people may be
Well, I
satisfied.
mean,
I'm not satisfied with that, but maybe you are. That's
I
fine.
feel like I don't know enough. I know that the wars have been going on back and forth between them. I personally don't know, like real close personally, know anyone from either side. Um, but what I do know is that sometimes there can be other stories that we don't hear that are just as devastating and bad. And just like when you go in court, you've got the all the different stories, right? And you
Yeah, sure.
tell a
You
story
know
about.
what? It's very easy with your logic to justify 9/11. I mean, there were a
Yeah,
lot of things done to these poor people, and they decided to take justice in their hands. So they did have
yeah.
9/11. So you have to learn all stories. We don't know what's happened before, what's happened here, what's happened there.
Well, and I
What are we doing here then?
I asked that same question. I asked, what did we do in their minds? What did we do to them to cause them to attack us that way? Right? Because a lot
Oh,
of
you
times
need to learn that, really. So on 9/11,
I
what's
didn't
happened?
like it. I didn't like
Oh,
it.
you didn't. Bravo.
Can
I
How
y'all hear
didn't
come
me
you
like
now?
didn't
it.
like it? Why
Just
didn't you
like
like it though?
I didn't like Pakistan shooting Israel. I'm
What
just not
Pakistan? What are you talking about?
Palestine.
or Palestine. I'm sorry, not Pakistan, Palestine.
Palestine.
Yeah, but I just like that. I don't like that. Just like I didn't like Putin shooting Ukraine. I'm sure everybody has their issues back and forth. I don't think that's the right way to settle it. I just don't. And I've heard stories from the Palestinians where they go, "Hey, Israel's just been killing us and shooting us down a lot. That's why we retaliated." I just don't think shooting a lot of missiles, and then, like you said, how can only 1,100 people get killed when they're shooting missiles like crazy? I mean, that was a lot of missiles from what I heard. And, I don't know. I mean, it would be nice to know all of the stories. I don't think we will. I just wish men would learn to stop pushing those buttons, stop shooting, and sit down and talk. It's over a piece of land. It's over a little piece of land. This is all of this.
Yeah,
But
but
I
it's been a
actually
piece of
think
land that's been out there for a while, and there's been a conflict. Some people would argue it's been going on since religious times. Some people would argue that it goes back to Adam and Cain, and even some other kind of conversations. Because I definitely know that I heard somebody that said there was two brothers, even back in biblical times. And then, of course, I can also understand when folks are had land. I mean, it's kind of like the Native Americans. You had land, and then after a significant war, that being World War II, they decided to bring to set up an Israeli country there in land that was inhabited at that point. So I can understand where people would be upset and be like, if I kind of got crashed in your living room without you telling me that I was going to crash in your living room and all in that space. So I can understand where some folks might be
well, and then
upset about that.
I read something about something that got stirred in 1987, which isn't too long ago, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, again, this has just been a constant issue for as long as I can remember. When you hear your Bible stories, you hear about all of this. And I feel like they're not God separate. If you read the Bible and you believe in it, God separated us at the temple because we couldn't get along and we were fighting over things that we shouldn't have been. I think if you really believe in the Bible and you believe in all of the things that a lot of people talk about, war is not the answer. We just need to learn. But it is, from what I read this particular time, the chants are all about this. But I got a question to ask you guys. Something I saw the other day that just kind of irked me. Well, I don't know if it irked me. Just curious. Is Putin is saying that they don't need to be fighting. They need to put down their weapons and get along. And I'm like, he's one to talk, right? He's like, they
Yeah,
need to cease fire.
Well, Putin has had a couple of things that he said, and I know that definitely Sasha's going to love this one that I pulled up, and it was from a site called The Inquisitor. But apparently, Russian President Vladimir Putin has finally commented on the ongoing legal battle that former U.S. President Donald Trump is embroiled in, and the former views these prosecutions to be politically motivated. And we've even heard that in discussions here. So Putin also insinuated that he perceived this to be the result of the deep-rooted corruption within the American political system, speaking at an Eastern Economic Forum event in Vladivostok, and I probably mispronounced that, Sasha. Putin shared his views on the prosecution of Trump, stating, "As for the prosecution of Trump, for what it is happening in today's conditions, in my opinion, is good because it shows the rottenness of the American political system, which cannot pretend to teach others democracy." So he's actually saying that we can't teach others democracy.
He repeats Republican point of view. Republicans are saying that it's all politically motivated, so he just repeats the same thing. I don't see anything new what Putin said to these questions. Coming back to Israel's situation is what's appalling is that all free democracy countries are staying 100% behind Israel. Biden just had a speech just a couple of hours ago, if not so, where he condemned all these murderous Hamas actions. And he said that Israel will get just as much U.S. help as ever possible to deal.
Sasha and Kim, because we were talking about this after the show earlier today and everything, and I know Jadobi's in the background, and hopefully he'll jump into the conversation, but definitely that is holy land for a lot of folks, including both those in the Islamic population as well as the Christian and the Jewish populations. I think it's holy land even for some other religions that are lesser known and all along those lines. That being said, it being a holy place, a lot of people go from around the world to pilgrimages there, both from the Muslim culture as well as from the Christian culture. But there does seem to be sometimes, and I think it's kind of what Kim was alluding to, a double standard, because Israel has definitely blown up mosques and they have definitely blown up some things that were in that space. And when that happens, we don't hear as much outrage as we do when the Hamas attack took place. And I'm not forgiving Hamas for what they did. It was very atrocious and all along those lines, but there have been attacks where there have been supposedly military targets, but sometimes those are apartments, sometimes they are mosques, there are a number of other things, and we don't hear as much pushback when that happens and everything. And all along those lines, I've actually got a clip from a gentleman from the Palestinians, and I'd like to play that and then hear y'all's responses to it. But this is what the gentleman had to say from Palestine.
Where is the international protection the Palestinian people is entitled to when the occupying power violates international law and harms those it is obliged to protect? Aren't Palestinians' lives worth saving? The Palestinian civilians killed, the Palestinian children killed in occupied Palestine could have been spared. Isn't that a moral and legal obligation and a contribution to peace? Why nothing is done when those killed are Palestinians? We need to think hard of what logic we want to see prevail here. If this is about vengeance, then many Palestinians will feel they have much to avenge. If this is about peace, then the way to it is not through further entrenching oppression and occupation, but by ending it. You cannot say nothing justifies killing Israelis and then provide justification for killing Palestinians. We are not subhumans. Let me repeat, we are not subhumans. We will never accept a rhetoric that denigrates our humanity and reneges our rights.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
Any thoughts? Because that's with definitely a legitimate point, and it's a point that I've heard from some others that I know in that Palestinian community and all along those lines.
Mark, this speech, I don't want to comment on that. I'm just dismissing it 100%. What you said before, something about the holy place, there are three religions and all that stuff. Mark, largely it's all nonsense. The Israel is a secular state. There are some believers, for sure, but it's a secular state. It has nothing to do with religion. Religion is thing for the past, really. I mean, some people prefer to believe, let them believe. I have no problem with that. But to say that because of the religion, these people are killing that people or so on, that's nonsense. People who are killing because of the religious motives have to be killed themselves, and very quickly. Okay?
Sasha, is my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and if Kim wants to correct me, or Jacoby in chat if he wants to join in the conversation. But in my conversations with people that are of Jewish background, like I said, Dad's longtime girlfriend is of Jewish background, and all in that space, there are many in Israel that will say that they are a Jewish country, that they are a Jewish represented country, and that they will definitely claim that. That's part of the whole conversation around Zionism, because that is a form of nationalism.
There are obviously majority of Israelis are Jews, okay, but the citizens of Israel are not only Jews. There are also Arabs who are citizens of Israel, and a lot of Christians people, even people from Europe and people from even Russia or Ukraine who are not even Jews necessarily. So they have different religious beliefs, or maybe they don't need religion in their everyday life. I'm not going to comment on that, but religion is a thing of the past. We live in 21st century. Those people who want to believe, let them believe. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But to say today, because that place belonged 5,000 years ago to us, and now 3,000 years ago, those people killed that people. Let's go back to Neanderthal's time. The Cro-Magnon people killed all Neanderthal people. What injustice now we have to get back. Oh, my Neanderthal people, let's fight and let's kill all these killers and so on. No, we're not going to go into it, not at all.
Well, if you want to look at the statistics, Israel is 73.6% Jewish, 18.1% Muslim, 1.9%, and 1.6 Druze. So
Hold on. I'm not talking about nationalities of Israelis. I'm talking about religious beliefs.
I just said their religious beliefs. I just said 73%.
There are believers, but it's a secular state which is administered and powered by politics, by economy, by armed forces, but not religion. Okay.
There are many that would argue against you on that, but like I said, I'm not going to get into this debate at this particular time. But there are many that would argue that Israel is not a secular state, that it is a religious.
It is a secular state,
and there are many that can say that some of the Middle Eastern countries are not secular either. So, like I said, that is
away from the government. It's away from schools. In Israeli schools, there is no teachings of religion. They can have religious holidays like they had just a couple of days ago when it's all started. Yeah, for sure. Some people observe and some people don't, but it doesn't matter. It's a modern state, very technological, very advanced. And now, Mark, we are going into something what's called real politics. And I've learned that from Professor John Mearshammers when he says that, look, here is a huge, big, strong Russia, and here is a small, little Ukraine. So from the point of real politics, Ukraine has to be very nice, very polite, ask, how are you today, Russia? What would you like me today to do? Would you like me to jump How high, how many times, and so on. So the same thing, if Israel is so much stronger than Palestine and all others, and it proved in 75 years winning all wars, and is today, if the 6 days war would be fought today, it would be 6 hours war, not 6 days war. So now what we see, unlike in Russia and Ukraine case, when the huge, strong country attacked much less country, here is a completely opposite situation. The little Hamas attacked a way much stronger entity, which is Israel. What are they thinking about? Don't they understand that there will be a wrath from Israel, that there will be enormous amount of people who will be suffering, already suffering. There are already the wrath of Israel already started. Electricity, water, food, everything was cut off from a bunch.
Sasha, by that logic, nobody would have attacked South Africa and everything. Because if you are feeling oppressed, then you will sometimes attack somebody that is a bigger opponent in the hope that you can garner the support and the beliefs and people that will get behind your cause, which is what happened in South Africa, which is how apartheid was ended. But if we want to go by who had the greater control, then the South African government at the time had the greater control and everything. But members of the ANC, members of Nelson Mandela and a bunch of others decided to go against that. If you want to go to India, Gandhi was definitely way outnumbered by the government of his time. And all along those lines, we can go to some of the African nations. We can go down history and show that there have been times that the lesser people, or those that were the weaker of the countries, have launched the attack and have succeeded in the attack, and all along those lines. So for you to think that a lesser opponent will not attack somebody that is bigger, particularly if they feel that they have a military or some sort of advantage that they can exploit, and along those lines, that, hey, you play chess, you know that sometimes the weaker opponent is not always the one that is going to win and all in that space. So definitely there are things that go on in a number of things in that regards and all along those lines. So I'm not buying the 100% that Israel, and I'm also not buying it 100% because my understanding of the current leadership, and he's been the leader for a number of years, is that he was very much of a nationalist, very much of a conservative, and some people would put him in that Zionist camp. And there has been a whole conversation around nationalism throughout the country. It's not just been in the Israel. It's been ironically in the country that you were so proud of, Ukraine, and it's been in a number of other places as well. So we've talked about this on the news. There's been a nationalism movement that has taken place as well, and a lot of people are looking at that and all along those lines.
Well, I'm totally, I totally disagree, Mark. I mean, the thing is, it's always nice to go say, well, Hamas, no, Hamas, here's what's going to happen. Because somebody asked me about this. One reason I'm late is because somebody asked me my opinion on what's going to happen. And here's what's going to happen. Israel will invade the Gaza Strip. Israel will kick Hamas out and destroy and kill every one of them. Okay? So all the leaders in Hamas will be gone. That's what's going to happen. Why? Because whether we like it or not, might makes right. And what Hamas did was stupid. Okay? One thing you don't do is you don't hit the bear, and the bear of the Middle East is Israel. It isn't Hamas. It isn't Hezbollah. You don't pull a stunt like they did with against Israel, because you got a couple of factors. One, Netanyahu, his parents were like Holocaust survivors. He comes from old, stock where people will rape, kill, destroy, put you in concentration camp. He ain't a happy man. All right. So you just went after a guy who's looking for revenge against Germany 20 billion years ago. Okay. So, and he just gave the excuse for all of Israel to be behind him. And all they have to
hold
do
on a second. That's actually something that has already been reported. All of Israel is not behind him.
Hamas will be.
Hey, hold on a second. Nick, there are already reports that all of Israel is not behind him, because there are already reports in the news that a lot of Israel and the Israeli population is upset with him because they feel that he should have known about the attack prior. So there's a lot of people that are upset.
Let's go come later. There will be a lot of things.
Okay, Hamas is toast, baby. Watch what'll happen. Mark my words. before
Mark,
the end
if
of the
you have
year,
any
there will
sympathy
be no
for
Gaza Strip
Hamas,
run by Hamas.
say goodbye, Hamas. You were nice. You were great people, but hopefully you will see
Nobody
the
said I had any
war
sympathy for Hamas. So
changes
don't
very
get
This,
words
soon.
off
this
here to
is
put in
not,
Bye
words in my
this is
bye.
mouth,
not
and I
how you
never would
resolve
go there and
conflict.
everything. But
Remember,
whether it was that
Gandhi,
attack or whether it was the
Gandhi
Israeli attack
was
on the Olympics from several
Gandhi
years
did
ago, I
not
don't approve of
fight
those kind of
his
attacks.
war
But
using
as
aggression.
Jacoby has said on several
What
shows,
of
and I will agree with him,
Gandhi didn't
we
fight
have
his
to
war
understand
using
the root
aggression.
causes of what is going
Neither
on there
did
as well.
Mandela. Okay, remember Mandela did not fight his war using aggression. Neither did Gandhi. They realized that this is a bigger force that they had to use. Even Martin Luther King, peaceful means to obtain their objective. Now, when you
No,
have
Nick, hold on a second. Most
using
times
violence,
most times the changes happen,
violence is
including
gonna
Gandhi, including India, including MLK, including a number of others. There are usually multiple factors that are going on at the same time. I would argue, and y'all can disagree with me, that the changes that happened in the civil rights movement would not have happened if you didn't have both Martin and Malcolm. And Malcolm was practicing
Okay,
that
Mark,
notion.
looks like you know quite a lot on the subject. So let me ask you.
I wish I could bet on this. I'm all in on Israel.
A
I bet
few
I'm not betting
very
on this. I'm
basic
not betting on
questions.
that. I'm just saying that I'm just saying I know a lot about the nature of conflict.
Okay, Mark, the nature of conflicts. You're absolutely correct. Let's figure out something. Who are the Palestinians who live in Gaza? They're Palestinians, right?
No, there are
Who
definitely
are
Palestinians that are in Gaza.
they're Palestinians? Who are they? They are Palestinians. Why don't you say it?
I just said there are Palestinians that are in Gaza. There are
Excellent.
Palestinians,
Great.
there are others there in Gaza as well.
Nice, very nice. That's enough. Who is Hamas?
I mean, Hamas, you claimed that Hamas was the elected leaders, and I don't know that Hamas was elected and everything. I heard you say that earlier today. I understand that they actually took over that area.
Not
and
good
everything.
enough, Mark. Not good enough. You have to go a little.
Don't tell me what's good enough, Sasha.
No,
This is a conversation. So don't tell me what's good enough and what's not good enough. I'm not going to have that today, Sasha.
No.
I'm not having the bullshit
You
today.
sound like an expert
I'm not having that.
subject.
You can't
So I
put words in my mouth. We're not going to have that,
to
Sasha.
enlighten me, to
Okay, I'm not gonna
inform
have
me.
that.
You're not doing that.
We're not doing that.
So tell me again, who is Hamas? What is
Hamas
their
is
relationship?
the militant side, and I've said this before. I didn't say that I supported Hamas. Hamas is the militant side of what is going on. Not everybody
Where
that is
the
Palestinian believes
Hamas
in that
came
kind of
to-
philosophy.
where
And for you
Hamas
to say that
came to
everybody believes
Palestine?
that is a misconception as well.
Mark, okay, enough. Where the Palestine came to Gaza and became so-called elected government. How that happened? Do you know?
Did you know that they became the elected government? My understanding is that they actually took over that area and all in that space and everything. So were they actually were they approved and elected by everybody there?
Mark, enough. They were elected by 2006, and there were no elections since that time. So when Palestinians today, tomorrow, next day will be killed, it's collateral damage. They elected Hamas and they let it rule now for almost 20 years. So there will be a punishment. There is collective responsibility. This is why today Russians, they're not allowed to travel to any European countries. They are shamed that this is your country. Even those who are against the war against Ukraine, but they're all being shamed. They're all that they cannot even travel by car. If you want to go by car from Russia to Europe, you're not going to be allowed to do that. Why?
Sasha, let me read exactly what happened. Hamas won the 2006 primary elections. That is what I have found out and everything. And in 2007, which is what I said, they violently seized control of the Gaza Strip. So they did not seize it because of the election. They seized it violently. So I said that before that Hamas is a international group that is definitely engulfed in terrorism. I said that before. The Palestinian Authority, which is dominated by the rival Fatah movement, is actually who's supposed to be in charge, and they are in charge of the Israeli-occupied West Bank.
Do not attack the beast. You do not do that. It's just like Japan. You could argue, well, the United States back in the 1940s was pressuring Japan by not letting it have rubber. So then they attacked Pearl Harbor. And the minute they did it, some of the Japanese generals going, that was a big mistake. You just awoke the giant of the United States. United States give them an excuse. for the U.S. to come in the war and basically annihilate Japan. Now, you could argue that Japan was correct back then. You could argue that they were incorrect. It doesn't matter what the argument is. You have to deal with reality. Here's the reality. Israel is the beast of the Middle East. They showed they were the beast in the Yom Kippur Wars. They showed they were the beast in the Six-Day Wars. Gaza is like a gnat on their butt.
But I mean, part of
You know
that
what's
is,
gonna happen?
if you know,
A
part of the
gnat
reason that is because
will
of the support that they get from the U.S.
Watch.
and they are seen as
It'll-
one of the
it'll be
U.S.
over
key
by-
allies.
let me
There's
see,
no
by
doubt about that
December,
and everything.
by
So
the
yes,
end of
they
the
are
year.
seen as the key ally in a region
It's
that we
over.
find to be very important, that being
I
of the
don't know.
Middle East and everything. And
How
there
can
have
I
been
bet?
some groups, and there's even some conversations about some of the peace that
There
was
is no doubt.
negotiated that may be at jeopardy, including the peace with Saudi Arabia and Israel and a couple of the other
The
countries
only
that are there
conversation
as
on
well.
shows like us, okay? In the meantime, the 235,000 National Guardsmen of Israel, who, by the way, make sure everybody is trained to have guns and fight and kill, and there are zillions of tanks which are all lined up on the Gaza Strip, and they've been there before, will just roll through Gaza like it was no tomorrow. And it'll take place, it'll only be a couple days. And they'll find them all, they'll kill them all. Unfortunately, there'll be a lot of innocent people killed on both sides. But I can guarantee you one thing.
But
This-
Nick,
this-
there is you have to differentiate. Is one thing when you or some even innocent people, or never mind, soldiers are being killed in the battle on battle lines.
That's right.
Another thing is when this, okay, let's call
Yeah,
Hamas
they're in a rock party. So
freedom fighters. Okay, freedom fighters. So invaded Israel, killing children, getting in a wheelchair. The Holocaust survivor woman, they got her and took her
Yeah.
hostages.
they were in a,
Israeli general, they were taking little girls like 5 years old and raping them. This is very different than
that's what I'm
when
saying.
you have a fight, when you have
I don't recall Martin Luther King or Gandhi doing stuff
Well,
like
were there
that.
any atrocities on the other side? Because I've heard of atrocities, including rape, from some of the Israeli soldiers. So if we're going to go down that path,
Oh,
let's be
come on.
very clear about. Hey, don't tell me,
Come
come
on,
on. I've
that's
heard
not
about things in
true.
that space.
That's not true.
You know,
So
there's
why
definitely
can't
things
we
that happen in that regard.
I'm
And there have
sorry.
been reports.
I'm
There have been
sorry
reports
to
of
even
Israelis that
say
have
that.
attacked and abused
not
the
true.
Palestinians as well. So don't
No,
go there
that's
if you're not willing to hear those cases.
That's not true, Mark. You know
Yeah,
that.
you tell me
I
that
don't
it's not
know what
true
I'm saying.
if you've not heard
What's
the
your
cases.
source? What's your source?
All
I've heard of a couple
What
of
is your
sources.
source? No, show me the source. Find
I
it.
will
Go to internet and find it.
I
Where
will bring
Israeli
you sources
raping
of some attacks,
the
including the
Palestinians.
mosque,
Come on.
which was definitely Jacoby brought up before he had to leave and everything, which the mosque was blown
Okay,
up in
get
attack.
Jacoby, get 5 more people, 55 more people, and find me the source. Where the Israeli soldiers were raping Palestinian girls.
There have been attacks of that nature.
Go
I will find
find
those
it.
sources for you. I will find those
Just
sources
find
for you
it.
gladly, and I will definitely. And the other thing that I said, which nobody answered me, is that I have heard reports, including in our own national media, that not everybody is pleased there in Israel because they are feeling that they were, in some ways, abandoned because they should have known about the attack. It's the same argument we heard during 9/11.
yeah, but that's all. That's only going to help Netanyahu, Mark, because he goes. There's no way our intelligence is gathering information in Gaza Strip to know when they're going to attack us. So there's
This
only
one has
one
the best
solution.
intelligence of all the
Only-
world.
Mark, only one solution: occupy the Gaza Strip, which they used to do, and occupy it by force, which is what they're going to do,
And control it.
and control it. You're right, Sasha.
Absolutely.
It'll all be over with by the end of the year because you've got a huge, strong Israeli force against a bunch of weakies. It's just like, remember they had this thing called ISIS, and they said we're going to destroy them, and they were destroyed. The real problem is some of these people think because they live in these little shanty towns that they're all powerful because they got a little gun or something. And no, not against a modern army, not like Israel. They made, as they would say, you made a big mistake, meatball, and they did. And so they're going to pay for it. Netanyahu's going to make sure that he's going to deliver the goods, and the Gaza Strip will be part of Israel.
But even our own president, now some of you don't like our own president, but everything. Even he has said that he is in favor of a two-state solution. He just said that recently in that press conference that you were.
Yeah, 2 states. Why not 3-state solution? Go
No,
for
there
it,
is the solution will be Gaza Strip will be controlled by Israel. That'll be the solution. So all your 2-state, 3 states, 1 state doesn't matter. Forget it.
So
Okay.
you're saying that the
Gaza
two-state
Strip,
solution with a
people in
actual
Gaza Strip have made a statement that we cannot be trusted. Okay, they made the statement they can't be trusted. Fine, they're gonna get the.
that's not even the representatives of the Palestinians. I just told you the Palestinian Authority is actually the ones that are supposed to be the big time representatives of the majority of the Palestinian population and everything. But you're saying that a militant group, that would be like us saying that because the squad or the MAGAs did something that we are going to hold them, everybody else accountable because they are the minority and the fringe group. So everybody knows that the Hamas is a fringe group, just like the squad and the MAGAs are fringe.
It's back to a simple formula from Machiavelli. Might makes right. Okay. And unfortunately, it doesn't matter what people believe. Israel is might. They're the beast of the Middle East. Hamas is not. Hamas thinks they are. Hamas may think they're great, but that ain't going to happen. See the little Gaza Strip there? But if you looked at the army of Israel and you looked at the Gaza Strip, remember what happened to the Falkland Islands? Britain came down with their fleet and they took over. This ain't going to be even close to that. This is like having Alabama play, Florida A&M in football. It's not going to be pretty, I'm serious. And so the thing is, this is going to be really, really the Gaza Strip. See that tiny little piece of land? Israel.
Yeah, but who wants to go visit any of this country with all of this tension and stress that goes on and on and on? I mean, you never know when missiles are going to fly one direction or another. And it's all over a stupid piece of property. Can't men just pull it together and just sit there and no, they can't.
No, they can't. So you forget that. There's
I got a big red button.
Oh, okay. You know what's the problem? Kim, the problem is that you cannot make a peace with a dead man. Dead men are dead. They cannot make a peace or war or anything. They're dead. Hamas is dead. They are walking dead. In next 24, maybe 48 hours, they all will be dead. There will be no more a word Hamas. Only in Wikipedia you will find, that was a freedom fighters or there was something else, where they are not going to be here with us in next 24 to 48 hours. Period. So there's no peace needed because there's no more Hamas.
You say that, but then if you have that mentality, that is part of what Kim was alluding to and everything, because there is a way that you can actually militarize and make people more militant when you have that kind of mentality and everything. And we might just be grooming more people to have that kind of mindset that they would be doing the suicide bombs and the other things that have been done for years and everything. So
the point is, the dead people cannot have mentality. Dead people don't have mentality.
Well, dead people might not, but they raise that mentality for those that are living. So because of that action and everything, then others are willing to take on that mantle. That's the notion of a martyr and everything. There are many people that are willing to become martyrs and all along those lines. So if you're just going to raise more martyrs, then you're making it less of a place to go visit. And there are parts of the Middle East that are very wonderful to go visit. I have friends that have gone to Qatar and everything, which is not that far from Israel.
Do you know that Palestinian women, it's the most populous area in the world, and they each have 6, 7, 9, 11 children. Why they have so many kids? Because the more kids they have, the more freedom fighters. There will be once they will grow up, they're little kids. They will become freedom fighters. Okay, so this is, for example, when they have a math lesson. The lesson goes like this. Okay, in the morning, Ahmed killed 3 Jews, and after lunch he killed 5 Jews. How many Jews Ahmed killed during the day?
Sasha, when's the last time you attended a mosque or actually talked to a Muslim?
Sorry?
When was the last time you attended a mosque or actually talked to a Muslim? You're making assumptions about what they're teaching in their courses and everything based on what conversations you've had and everything else. I've actually talked to some of the Muslims here in this area and everything else. So, I mean, don't make
I'm not talking about Muslims. I'm talking about
Morocco are not Hamas.
All right,
you can't put all the Muslims together. The Muslims in Morocco are not Hamas Muslims. It's like saying all the Republicans are bad. That's not true. You have these wild wing nuts. And after
No, I
wild
just said
wing
that's
nuts,
they're extremists, and I've already said that Hamas is the extremism version of what is going on. But he said Hamas.
So they're going to live and die with the sword, and they're going to die on the sword, and that's too bad for them. And their message will not get across if they had one. Same with ISIS. Remember ISIS? Oh, we forgot about ISIS. What happened? They picked on the United States of America and other countries, and they said, we're going to create this caliphate. We're going to take over the world. And I have met with them. As a matter of fact, years ago, I met with somebody from Libya, of all places, one of the University of Miami. And he was telling us how big, bad Libya could take out the United States. I said, dude, you are delusional. It ain't happening. The real problem is some of these people are, unfortunately, delusional. They think that they're going to take out Israel. It ain't happening, Captain. Okay?
Well, by the way, ISIS is still around, and they're still
it'll be done by the end of the year. Netanyahu will win a big victory, and you can forget the Gaza Strip. We'll be part of Israel. Next. Do we have anything else on the agenda?
We'll see what else is on the agenda and all along those lines. I was going to ask in that.
I'm going to declare Israel the
How are
winner.
things going in
declare Israel the winner
the Biden Hunter?
Well, that's
and-
one of the
and
things I was going to
Trump.
do. Yeah, I was going to
And
get to
it's
Biden
been,
and
you
Hunter,
know,
but before we got to Biden and Hunter,
I just heard something about the governor in California, and he has just banned all kinds of foods coming into California. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, we've talked about that briefly on the news earlier today. That was one of the things that he had coming up. But before we got to that, the other thing that I was curious about, and I'm sure folks have got thoughts around that as well, is the notion of one of the candidates who was going to run against Biden is now going to run independent. So Robert Kennedy, part of that Camelot family.
Finally, yes.
He has
I
announced
asked him to. Yes, I told him I would not support him unless he ran independent. I said, I will not support you running on this ticket, but I will stand behind you. And he's doing it.
He did it. He announced it yesterday. He announced that he is running independently and all along those lines. So he is running.
I know he's garbage, but I'd rather him be in place than Biden. I mean, you've got your choice between your.
You know who was really good? I saw on The View the other day is Arnold Schwarzenegger. There's only one problem with Arnold. He was really smooth, but he's not a U.S. citizen, so he can't run for president. But the guy was really right in the middle.
Well, maybe you want sports people, and speaking of California, there's a great baseball player that is running for Senate, and that is, and I'm sure many people heard that, but Steve Garvey is running for Senate in California. So Mr. Garvey announced that he's going to run for Dianne Feinstein's seat, and since he was a very popular player, having played for several Major League Baseball teams, I would not be surprised if he doesn't win. But he is an older candidate because he is 74, but he is the he was the first baseman for both the Dodgers and the San Diego Padres from 69 to 87, and he never held elected office. But he's saying, hey, I'm going to put my head in this race, and I want Feinstein's seat. So any thoughts around him jumping into this position? Apparently, he's got some interesting views. The positions outlined on his website are standards for Republican candidates, including a promise to take a stand against out-of-control inflation, a statement that rising crime is destroying our communities, and a call for more choices for parents in terms of their children's education. But he's broken from the Republican issue, saying he would not support the federal abortion ban.
He's utilizing every talking point that the Republicans are saying right now. Oh, give parents extra choice. Okay, yeah. That's what this whole Moms of Liberty crap is talking about. Oh, runaway inflation. Well, we have the lowest inflation of all the G20 countries right now. It's a global thing and not an isolated thing based on what Biden's policies are, unless you're saying that Biden's policies are what's running the world, which is idiotic and ignorant. So he's just running on hot little talking points that he found out that the Republican Party or the base right now doesn't look into. And this is also why RFK is a garbage person, because dude sits there and his whole anti-vax campaign and also the stuff he said to trash the individuals that we're sitting here arguing about, talking about the Jewish population. RFK went on this whole anti-Semitic rant. So we can't, he's a garbage person. He is not better than Biden. He is just trash because of his policies, his positions, the things that he said, and everything else. Biden is just fine. We're just falling into this whole political crap of, hey, coming behind a horrible person and trying to fix everything that he tried to burn down. So yeah, Biden's fine. Yes, he's
I
not
agree that
the
he
best
came
thing the
in.
Democrats can push out, but no, he's just fine compared to every option that we have up there right now.
You're
No,
doing
I think
you're
that
doing
there are
good
better
about
options.
Robert
I'm just
Kennedy and
glad
Steve
to see
Garvey,
that.
but you're delusional about Biden, Jatovi.
I think
He is
Biden.
better than Trump. He is better than RFK.
80 years
He is
old,
better than
got Alzheimer's disease, maybe, and he's just fine. No, he's not fine. I mean,
who is
No,
who
he's not.
right now of the actual potential candidates that will be on the actual ticket. It will be Biden, Trump, RFK. Out of those three, he is better than Trump. He is better than RFK.
Who, Biden?
So Biden is better than Trump. Biden is better than RFK.
No, you're gonna find a big anti-Biden sentiment out there, and Trump was going to win. The polls that we do show it. The only people who are delusional are the bloody Democrats. They shouldn't call it the Democratic Party. They should call it the delusional party because they don't
disagree.
They do not have a grasp on reality. I like to deal with reality. Couple reality. Israel's the beast of the Middle East. They will beat Hamas into the ground. Reality. Biden is losing in the polls.
We understand that the whole Israel thing, they've got all the military capabilities and everything else in comparison to Hamas. And honestly, Israel, yes, they are doing a lot. I mean, there are documented cases of Israel going in and actually doing, I guess you could call it kind of an ethnic cleansing of the actual areas and putting people Palestinians at gunpoint and moving them from their actual areas. So there's a lot of problems going on with that between Israel and Palestine. Saying that a one-state solution, that's not a solution. That's just creating more anger and more angst and more violence in that country. Because what is the biggest gripe that the individual that Mark played earlier was talking about occupying an area? Well, the Palestinians feel that they would like a two-state solution because they feel that Israel is occupying their land as well. So creating a two-state solution, which is what Biden and honestly the Republican position from years ago used to be. But then Trump comes in and then it becomes this whole giant holy war. Yes, we've got to have Jerusalem and we're going to have one state solution and we're going to all just forget about trying to create back one side and forget about trying to negotiate and trying to create peace. That's what happened with the Trump thing. The idea.
Jacoby, could I respond, please?
Because of it being in we do.
She's trying to break up.
So, Jacoby, if you can break a minute while you're
75 years, there was a historical decision to have two states, Israel, which would be a Jewish state, and Palestine, which would be Palestine, the Arab state, okay? So there was two-state solution in 75 years ago. So Israel started to build its state. What did Palestinians do? They were attacking Israel with the help of Egypt and Jordan and many Syria, just name it, almost all countries around Israel. They kept attacking Israel. What they want to say is, no, out, go to sea, just go and die. This is our land, and we're going to own this land. Israel says, no, it's not true. We have rights to this land as well, and we're going to fight you. Okay, let's fight. Okay, they fought one war, 1948. There was a second war in 1956. There was a 6 Days War. There was a Yom Kippur War, and
there was.
Were losing.
Don't forget.
Every single war after that. So when it was indeed two-state solution in 75 years ago, one side actually kept building the state, another side wanted nothing else. But
Sasha, if you want to go back into history, let's go back to 1918 when the Jewish Legion, a group primarily of Zionist volunteers, assisted in the British conquest of Palestine. So you said there wasn't a Palestine, but there actually was a Palestine. So we're talking almost 100 years ago that took place and everything.
Mark,
So there have been some attacks that took place even before the creation
there
of
were no
Israel.
Palestinians, there were no Arabs, and so on. The Jews were there, but nobody else. But I'm not going to go in 5,000 years ago what's happened there. Come on.
Like I said, we can have a debate about the history.
All I gotta say is, all it is it's about
one
a
who was
bunch
rather
of
tough,
guys.
you remember? Little Rocket Man. And he said, I have a red button on my desk. And I said, I have a red button too. Mine's bigger, better, and mine works a lot stronger than yours.
That's what we got in this world. A bunch of leaders who think and use what's, just.
And
they
Sasha,
all
you
think
asked me
we
whether I
gotta
could find
show
one. That
off
is actually a
something.
case right there that is recent. Israeli guards rape Palestinian woman. And I was going to gladly send you that copy. And there are some of those people involved with that are based in
I
Virginia and
think
other
it's
places.
bad both ways.
I don't
think
believe that.
both
You don't have to believe
countries
it,
are
but there have
wrong.
been cases of it happening. You don't have to believe it, but there.
What source is that? What is it?
Sierra.
Sierra,
What is Seer? What is Seer?
it's a group that actually works between both Israel and Muslims to work on cooperation.
Okay. That's not authority for me. I don't trust even.
Well,
one.
I mean, I'm not going to believe anything Fox or anybody tells me. I did watch a link between two guys who were arguing about this, and one who is more affiliated with what's going on between the two worlds. He gets involved with them. I don't know him personally, but I was watching him explain to people we just need to be very careful because, Israel is not 100% innocent.
That's my point, is that they're not 100% innocent. And that is actually from an Oxford source, Sasha. So that's actually from some fine folks over there in London that it is taking place. So I can find those number of sources that if you want me to find them, and I'll gladly send them to you. But there are a number of sources that will show that it is not a one-way street.
But I just think that all of this is created by a bunch of men who, thinks that, they're so small-minded. They have to use war, and that's wrong. I mean, they're not thinking humanity. They're not thinking good leadership of how to unite everyone. And I think eventually that will be the end of this world. That will be the reason why we just succumb to all of these people who want to push that red button like Trump keeps bragging about. I'll just send 10 missiles. We'll do this. We'll rape and kill the women. Unfortunately, it's the women and children who suffer great from all of this. I mean, and all innocent, people who got hit by the missiles in Israel. I feel bad for them. Most of them had nothing to do with these arguments. But the same with Palestine. I feel bad for the people who got hit in Palestine because the people who got hit had nothing to do with the argument.
Sorry, collateral damage. They elected their government, which is Hamas. Hamas is terrorist organization. Don't forget that England, they recognize Hamas as a terrorist organization. Are you American or who?
Sasha,
you don't know
Sasha,
I think
you've ignored
terrorists at times.
Sasha, terrorist organization. Let's stop right
Sasha,
here. Okay, it's
Sasha,
time.
wait. You just went down history lane, but you forgot in 2007 that history, which was not 5,000 years ago. In 2007, Hamas violently took over Palestine. So therefore, it's Hamas, and it's not the Palestinians that are trying to support Hamas. That's what Mark tried to point out to you about the Palestinian Authority. Again, Hamas violently took over. So therefore, they're not sitting there saying, yay, Hamas. They are in the... And then here's a fact that you keep ignoring. Here's a fact in terms of history that you keep ignoring. Sasha, a fact that you keep ignoring is the fact that Hamas has killed many Palestinians using them as human shields. So therefore, they're not saying, hey, yeah, shoot me. No, they're doing exactly like Kim is trying to say.
Okay, so
they're There are
So
innocents being killed on both
ruled
sides.
by Hamas, ruthlessly ruled now. So now Hamas wants to rule Israel and started this attack in hopes to somehow overcome Israel's defense, Israel's army, and so on, and rule Israel. It's not going to work. You know that. And the Palestinians who allowed Hamas to be in power.
They did not allow. If you get robbed, you did not allow your wallet to be stolen. You got robbed. If you get into, if somebody comes in and sets fire to your house, you didn't allow them to come and set fire to your house. They came in, they created arson in your house.
It's a comparable to what's happened in Russia when Putin and his friends completely overpowered Russian people and ruled them. But there will be a collateral damage when Russia will start falling apart, and then Ukraine will beat the shit out of them. There will be consequences to all Russians. Simply, they're on the losing side. You know, nobody likes losers. Hamas is a huge loser.
Hamas is a Hamas is a terrorist organization. We all get that.
They're no
But
longer.
that is not the Palestinian people. A
You-
lot of them are being killed as well.
Look,
But you keep throwing the Palestinian people into the Hamas bandwagon. You cannot do that.
sorry, it's collateral damage. I'm really sorry for them.
So then you're just saying this, by your logic, Sasha,
Yes.
Sasha, by your logic, that means innocent Ukrainians, innocent Russians are just collateral damage. That is your logic.
Not Ukrainians. No.
Sorry, that's your logic. That's what you just said.
My logic is
What you just said. I'm just using your logic. If you don't like it, change it.
You don't understand what I'm talking about. The Russians.
You don't like it, change it. That's your logic.
No. 100% no. I never said that
I'm
Ukrainians
sorry.
are.
You just stated that innocent people are collateral damage.
But I did not talk about Ukrainians. I didn't talk about French people.
You
I
just
talked
said
about
innocent people are collateral damage.
in countries where
So countries you don't like.
no.
Oh, so that's the root of the cause that we're talking about now. Countries
No,
you don't like.
No, listen, come on, stop this.
Yeah, it's not. I'm listening to what you're saying.
We are at the end of the hour, and we're going to bring this up on the next
edition.
World Politics, and maybe we'll have some news stories to talk about. Maybe these men will grow and become real men and just have real conversations and learn to do this without having to say, my button's bigger than yours.
Whom exactly are you talking about? You're talking about some men. They're talking about whom exactly?
I'm putting down men. So, but anyways, so let's wrap this up for tonight.
We'll wrap it up and we'll be back on Thursday with more discussion. We might even have some more women to join the discussion as well.
And
get on out of here. I got the